afternoon, Anna Beth. How are you today?
I'm so good, Susan. Good afternoon. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you too. And thank you for being Paul Pack's guest today. We've asked you here to share some of your experiences about running for office in an effort to encourage more progressive women to step up and run as well. But before I get started, let me share a little bit about how incredible you really are from your bio, which is amazing. So Anna Beth Gorman, CEO of the Women's Foundation of Arkansas, has committed her professional life to public service with a specialized focus on advancing the status of girls and women in our society. In her tenure with the Women's Foundation, she is leading the effort for the foundation to be the leading equity partner, building women's economy, security across the state of Arkansas. The foundation has seen tremendous growth under her leadership while focusing on two signature initiatives, Girls of Promise and Women Empowered. We'd like to hear about those later. In 2022, she was the Democratic nominee for Arkansas Secretary of State. In that same year, she was recognized as one of the 250 most influential leaders in Arkansas by Arkansas Business. She's widely recognized as a business and community leader, practitioner of economic development, and is a sought-after expert on the value of including women in the economy. Prior to her tenure with the Women's Foundation, she was Chief Membership, Volunteer, Program Officer for Girl Scouts Diamonds of Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, serving as an executive with the Girl Scout organization for several years. She is the immediate past chair of the North Little Rock Chamber of Commerce, active in Club 99 Rotary, board member of Arvest Bank in Little Rock, Arkansas Women's Hall of Fame, and founding board member of the Southern Capital Project. Wow, you are amazing. We're so glad to have you here today. Excuse me. So let's get started, shall we? Our topic today is the importance of female representation in Arkansas politics. So with that in mind, here's my first question for you. Currently in Arkansas, our county elected officials, like county clerk, circuit clerk, treasurer, assessor, and collector, are predominantly women. But at the state level, our constitutional offices are predominantly held by men. Do you think more women should go for statewide positions, and why?
Well, the short answer is that women should go for all of these positions. We need to see women running for office at levels including PTA, city, county, state, and federal. In the last 2 decades, we've made great strides, but as you've just pointed out, we haven't seen representation in all of these spaces. And while representation at the county level is fantastic, it's still, other aspects of city government, county government, your community government that are really critical. And then at our state level, the constitutional level, currently we do have a female governor. So although we don't have more women than men, we've got a woman at the top. And that's significant for our state, regardless of who's in that position, because for a lot of women, seeing is believing. And now we have an example in our state. So we've seen a female governor in a rural state. That's incredibly important. It's incredibly important for both men and women who don't think that women belong in places, right? So it's important that we have this representation.
Yes, I totally agree with you. So this next one's a little touchy kind of question. So like when I ran and you didn't win. So talk a little bit about that. And do you think the thought of not winning would discourage other women from running for office?
I'm so glad you asked this, because Susan, I didn't win, but I won.
Yeah.
I did. And I went into this really aware of the odds of me winning against an incumbent in a predominantly red conservative state. And, I'm not the smartest person in the room by any stretch of the imagination, but I am smart enough to recognize what I was up against. And I always want women to know what they're up against. And even if they're up against like super challenging odds, I would there. There is absolutely no negative aspect of running for office, like what it means on the other side of it. It is going to be hard, it is going to be challenging, but again, you're not going to look back on that and say, I shouldn't have done that, because you're going to learn a lot about yourself. It's going to open up new areas of interest, new opportunities to put your passion to work. And for me, it was as much as like, as an advocate for women, I tell women all the time, do not let perfect be the enemy of good, because there's no such thing as the perfect time to do something. And my race was an example of that. I mean, I understood the odds very well, but I believed that I had something to offer. I believe that we needed good options out there. I thought that I would be a really good counter to my opponent, and quite frankly, what the other party was putting out. And I hoped it would encourage women. Like, I've got a young child, I had a lot going on in my career, but I was going to do this very hard thing because we are built and designed as women to do hard things. We absolutely are. And on the other side of it, I didn't, at the end of the night, when the numbers weren't right, like, I felt really good about just the campaign. I felt good about going around our state, meeting more people, and to like the lessons that I learned. I mean, I've been able, I'm still using those. So again, it is truly a win-win, even if you lose.
Well said, and that is so true. And it is a hard journey running statewide in a red state, but it's so valuable. I mean, like you said, the people you met, the places you've seen, and the things you were able to do were just major accomplishments, regardless of the outcome. Thank you for saying that.
Absolutely.
So another question. Tell us how you prepared yourself for a statewide contest, for running for statewide office.
Yeah, so I know what the imposter syndrome is. Like many women, there are parts of me that feel like, oh, I'm not qualified for this, I can't do this. And when that sneaks up in me, like there's something about like, well, I'm going to do something. If I don't feel qualified, if I don't feel ready, then what do I need to do to get myself ready? Right. And what do I need to do to be able to take on this challenge that is something new? Because I truly do, like, putting yourself in those challenging positions is the way that you learn, you grow, you expand. So I looked for opportunities to get some sort of knowledge, right? In the current, well, my whole career, it's been in the nonprofit sector. So it's a nonpartisan sector. So I actually had to think really critically about what could I do so I could keep working my job and not, be labeled as overly partisan, although I have very partisan beliefs. So I found a campaign school for women from UT Austin, the LBJ Campaign School. It bills itself as nonpartisan, but the majority of people in there probably lean more one way than the other. A lot of progressive women in that group. And it was a program that I could do virtually. So I could continue, I could do that while I was working. And that was important for me because I didn't want to go into it blind. I didn't know a lot about, running a campaign. I thought I could do it. I hoped I could do it, but I still wanted some knowledge. So because as a woman, I didn't want to feel taken advantage of. That was something that was really important to me. Like, I don't want to feel like in the room that I am not in control of my own destiny, right? And there are some things that I can't control, but if I don't come prepared and I'm just completely relying on other people without having my own kind of opinions and feeling confident enough to voice them, that's not how I wanted to go into it. So the LBJ campaign school was a great resource for me. Post the election, I've become supportive of Emerge Arkansas because it's a great resource here in Arkansas that's, really getting some strength underneath it. I've met the wonderful people here at PawPac. And again, I think it's important because women look for these resources. And, and I was in a particular position where I had to find a resource that I could actually tell my board of directors, I'm going to do this thing while I'm going to work. Is that okay? So I was having to kind of navigate that. And I think, people were surprised by me at first, like, who are you? I'm like, well, I've been working in this public sector for a long time, and I've done some things to prepare myself. So I'm serious about this. It wasn't just on a whim, but, I had to go circumvent some ways so I could keep working and provide for my family.
Wow. Yeah, that was a brilliant response to that question. It tells a lot to our viewers. Last question. As an experienced candidate, which I think you've already done this, what tips will you share with our viewers about running for any office?
Yeah, when running for any office, I think you want to talk to people that are close to you, that are going to be, think of it as like circles around you, right? You want to talk to your immediate circle, your very first circle. You want to talk to your immediate family, your close friends. What's the support that you're going to give? Like, as a woman, again, I had a young child. I have a teenage stepson. I have my daughter was 2 when we announced, and we had to have a conversation like, are we going to have care? Are we going to have help? Right. Because my husband also has a full-time job. So that was something that we had to have a conversation. And for my husband, he needed a plan. Like, he's like, what's the plan going to be? Like, what's the plan? Like, because his work is very seasonal and the demands. And so it's funny, like, we had a whole child care plan. We really did. And like, we had like layers of people, like, my grandparent layer, our neighbors, our, family friends. And so, throughout, year and a half of my daughter's life, like, she was the bonus child of many families. But that was really important. And then the next circle is going to be the people that are going to sponsor you, right? I mean, it's important to really to understand, like, who are you going to be, who's going to champion you, potentially offer financial support, offer advice. Our state, what I found is that, we have a small party state. I mean, the party systems, the 2 parties, like, it's a close family, right? And so I had to too, like, and I was running in a primary against a really well-known and respected individual already in the party. So I had to find resources and people that hadn't already jumped into his camp, right? And so, but it was important that I was able to do that and could do that. And that's something so my immediate family circle, the next sponsor circle, and then the next circle, which is your social capital, right? I have worked really hard in my career. I've got good, really social capital around the state. I mean, that was an advantage that I had. I've worked in a statewide capacity my entire career. I mean, it's funny, like, I think that people in the party, like, who is she? But like, outside the party, like, oh, I'm pretty well known in a lot of communities across our state, and could call on that social capital circle, right? So I think it's kind of a good exercise to do that little diagram of, like, my immediate circle of influence, who's going to be there to help and support, the next layer of, like, experts and folks that can guide you through it, and then how are you going to leverage larger networks?
Excellent. Thank you. Well, I think we're nearing the end of our time, but I want to thank you for spending this time with us. Your responses have just been incredible to, I think, encourage and empower other women to step up and run. And I know you know this too. Every time women do run, it does empower another woman to take that step. So it's important that we keep doing it, and all the things that we need to change the political makeup of our state. So again, thank you. We're so grateful for you taking your time with us. So until next time, remember, PawPac is here, and everyone, please stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Thanks.